So this question came to mind just a couple days ago when I was on Twitter. I do my best to engage with as many folks as I can who I don't think know God or don't have a living relationship with Jesus in a way that will be engaging with them. So I'm not here to tell them that they're obligated to anything, but rather send out the invitation. And I often use questions because questions really do suspend judgment and allows people to engage. And so I ask you all here, why are you here? 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 Right? And these questions aren't just for this particular meeting. These are questions that we should be asking of ourselves in every context, every place we go, and not to answer from the inside out, but from the God who we serve. God, why am I here? Why have you picked me to be here at this particular time? Of all of the history and the millions, billions of people that have been on the planet, this handful, this group of people are here right now. That's miraculous, right? The chances are astronomical. It's way beyond winning the lotto. 8, 9 billion people on the planet, and throughout history, we're here right now. It's not by accident, it's by design. It's for a reason. So asking the question, why are you here? Why are you here? Why are you here? Why are you here? And I just want to point out that anything that you receive today, by nature, we listen with this question in mind, what's in it for me? That's natural. That's all marketers know that. I'm in marketing, so I get it. The first thing that people are asking is, what's in it for me? Whether they're asking it overtly or internally. And that's nothing wrong with that question, because there is something in this for you, or you wouldn't be here. But don't stop there. As Jesus pointed out to us, freely you have received, freely give. So ask the question, what's in this for me? And then, what's in this for me to give? Right? It's a circulation. You look around nature, God's created circulation everywhere. It's in our breath. You inhale and exhale. If you inhale and hold it too long, you pass out. If you exhale and you hold it too long, you pass out. Right? It's a cycle. So I'd say inhale grace, exhale gratitude. Inhale gratitude, exhale grace. And let that repeat, because questions put you on a quest, and better questions lead to better answers. So today we're talking about bringing meaning into Mondays, which really meaning could be replaced with the word purpose. And this quote I found in preparation for this talk: your purpose in life is to find your purpose and to give your whole heart and soul to it. Your purpose in life is to find your purpose and to give your whole heart and soul into it. That's great on a very grand and general level, but it still begs the question, what is your purpose, Tony? Okay? What's your purpose, Peter? That's the question we all get to ask, Dominic. What's your purpose? Why here? Why now? That's a question you don't ask yourself, and you don't ask the frogs. You don't ask the giraffe, and you don't ask the hippopotamus, and especially not the alligators, right? Go to the source, the one who has the answers. In my opinion, I think that the purpose of life boils down to 2, what I call essential vitamin C's. This is my own thought. Take it for what it's worth. Actually, I should say that for everything I'm sharing. I'm not the answer guy, I'm the question guy. So chew it up, swallow the meat, spit out the bones. That's actually biblical. But I think there are 2 essential vitamin C's to purpose in life, whether that's in your home life, in your business life, wherever you are. And I think those 2 are connections and contributions. Both are essential, not optional. Both are at the very essence of what makes life meaningful and purposeful and beautiful. Connections and contributions. And by connections, I'm talking about relationships. If you talk to anybody who does any sort of care at the end of life, and they have these conversations with people who know that their time on this earth is nearly over, and they ask, is there any regrets, anything you wish you would have done different as you look back over your life, no matter how old they are? Number 1, for the last, as long as they've been taking the surveys, is, I wish I had spent more time with the people I love. That's the number 1 regret. Not that I achieved more, I was awarded more, I was accolades, awards, finances, accumulations. Wish I'd spent more time with people left because time is expiring. And that's about connections, right? Relationships with yourself, with your loved ones, your community, your planet, and your creator. And so the question I pose to you, and I was hoping we'd have something to take notes with, but if you don't, that's fine. Just contemplate it, maybe take a picture of it with the phone. What are some things that I can do each day to enrich, enliven, and strengthen those connections? Small, simple steps sustained over time is success. Some people think success is a destination. No, it's not. It's the journey. And it's not as daunting as it seems. If you're trying to leap from here to the top of the mountain, it seems impossible. But if you take one step at a time and you keep going. So as Robin Sharma likes to say, dream big, start small, act now, don't quit. Dream big, start small, act now, don't quit. Small, simple, sustainable steps. So I go back to the question, what are some things that I can do each day to enrich, enliven, and strengthen those connections? You have to answer that question for yourself. And it's not just one answer, it's one of those ask and keep on asking type of questions, right? The other C is contributions. This is the exhale, right? The inhale is your connections, the exhale is the contributions. Contribution is my opportunities and my calling. It's where my passions intersect with the world's needs. It's where my passions intersect with the world's needs. It's the ways, small and big, that I can make a positive impact. It's the proverbial cup of cold water, as well as my personal moonshot. So ask yourself, what can I give? How can I serve? What can I give? How can I serve? Now, you don't do that from a place of emptiness, right? If you have nothing, you can give nothing. So you fill yourself up with that Spirit of God, and the fruit begins to grow. But the fruit on the tree isn't for the tree. It's for the people who need shade and who are hungry. So you give it away. Right? It's not that you have to give. You get to give. And I think there's a really important difference here that we don't give to get. And there's a principle of reciprocity, sowing and reaping. It's in the Bible. You give and you will receive. But that's not the motivation. You don't give to get. You get to give. It's a privilege. It's an honor. It's a part of being what God's doing here on this earth. Brenda Burchard, who I listen to regularly, a man of faith, and also one of the highest performing coaches the highest performing and successful people around the world. He talks a lot about how the studies have shown there are really 4 basic human drives. This is important here because this is not just for you. Again, this is for you and it's for everyone that you lead to understand the psychology that's going on, the internal engine that's running the people who run with you or for you or against you, right? There's 4 basic drives, 4 basic human drives. Aliveness, a sense of feeling alive. That's the adrenaline rush. People want to have they want to do something, they want to have a memory and experience of feeling alive. Loving relationships, we've touched on that already. Relationships are key, that's our connections. Meaningful pursuits. This one really applies in the business place. We now are in the wake of COVID and quiet quitting and the Great Resignation. And now we have a generation of millennials and Gen Z who have decided, pretty much as a collective, I am not trading my life for a corner office or a high salary. And some of them actually had corner offices and high salaries, and they left that job for a much less paying job for the freedom of living their life with purpose, right? They want meaningful pursuits, and they're not going to give away their soul for them. And in the middle is growth, because when you have aliveness, loving relationships, and meaningful pursuits, growth is inevitable. Growth is life. If you're not growing, you're dying. Right? This is required. It's built into us. This is the way God made it. And understanding this is really good for you, and it's really good for you to know for those that you lead. I would now invite you, and I don't think we have writing utensils for everybody, but if you can find something to write on, we'll take this exercise. If not, use your phone. And I'm going to walk you through a process for writing your own personal purpose statement. Some of you may have done this This is not a mission statement, and it's not for your business. This is your own personal purpose statement. And it comes in three parts. And again, I learned this from Brenda Burchard as well. There's three parts to a personal purpose statement. The first part is the I am statements. It's the who statements. It's the description of who I am. And it's not a coincidence that it's the first statement, because many of us think we start with that who I am is what I do. How many times you met somebody and they say, hey, what's your name? And the next question is, what do you do? Right? And Robert Fulghum, if you ever read any of his books, he has a great chapter on saying, what do I do? That doesn't define me. I can't put that on a business card. And he lists all the things that he does as a human being. And finally, he just gave up. He said, I can't fit it all on. And he just puts Robert Fulghum, breather. That's what it says on the business card. But you start your personal purpose statement with who I am. Because what you do has to flow out of who you are, or it's not sustainable. It's not even authentic. Then you add what I do. This is the gifts, talents, abilities, experience, education. This is specific to you because this is your story. Here's who you are and here's what you do. And you don't stop there. Part 3 is so that. This is the why. The who statements before the how statements for the why statements. And that's what a personal purpose statement looks like. And I'm going to read you mine. I went through this whole process. This is my own personal purpose statement following that exact model. The purpose of my life, Joe McCarthy, is to be increasingly confident, courageous, limitless, and childlike, to influence, that's the who. To influence, this is the B, the work, I'm sorry, the to do. To influence and impact people by modeling and encouraging them to explore the unseen realities and possibilities. So that's the key words for why. It's who I am, it's what I do, so that they become empowered and whole, free to experience and embrace all that life has to offer. I am, I do, so that. This is my personal statement, and yours will look like you and nobody else. So into the workplace, we have a new movement that some of you may have heard of. Raise your hand if you've heard of conscious capitalism. No, not many. Okay, this is really good for us to know, especially as Christian businessmen whose lives are based on values. There's a movement sweeping the nation that's been around now for quite a while, but flying under the radar, called conscious capitalism. And the basic premise is that if you position your business and you lead your business around people first, then the profits and the productivity will follow. This is exactly what I studied at Pepperdine in organizational development. It's all about the people first, profits and productivity afterwards. And I have a lot of people say, well, that sounds great, Joe, but that's not really sustainable. And if you went to any Fortune 50 company, they'd laugh at you and they say, yeah, right. Well, the truth is statistically, it's proven that if you put your people first, and I'm not talking about just the people that work with you. So there's the leadership, there's the line workers, but there's also the customer. There's the community that you work in, and there's the greater community at large, right? And I call those stakeholders, not shareholders. Actually, conscious capitalism calls those stakeholders, not shareholders. So switching from a shareholder orientation, which is really about bottom line profits, to a stakeholder orientation, which is about the people inside and outside the organization, it actually makes it more profitable. Gallup polls over the last several years have shown that companies that follow conscious capitalism or things like that, where they put the people first inside and outside the organization, actually are more profitable by as a minimal 12% to as high as 28% across the country. So that's where it hits the board, right? That's where it hits the trustees, the bottom line, where they say, we're not making any changes because, we have the shareholders to please. You can please the shareholders by taking care of your stakeholders. It's conscious capitalism, and I think Jesus would put people first. Just a guess. So the 4 tenets, real quick, of conscious capitalism, and I encourage you to look it up, and there are chapters even in Orange County where you can be involved in this. Higher purpose, our ambition is to positively change the perception of IT, well, this is about IT in specific, but perception of professional by cultivating environments of trust for our stakeholders, not shareholders, that's purpose. Stakeholder orientation, we place emphasis on creating value for all involved. in improving its ecosystem. So this must be about a specific company improving. Conscious leadership, we model and grow servant leaders who embrace personal awareness and the guiding principles of our business. And conscious culture, we are committed to creating a great place to work by promoting and instilling a healthy workplace culture. Now, these are all conceptual, but conscious capitalism has also broken that down into how that can be practical with actual steps, implementation, and consulting that is available. And I am loosely affiliated with conscious capitalism, but I'm not selling anything. It's just something to consider. And whether or not you connect with conscious capitalism, these are great principles to bring into your workplace. I hear a lot of people bash corporate America and business in the news, on social media, about how they're just money grabbing and that they don't care, it's command and control, blah, blah, blah. And these are people who have their own agenda and they like to be heard, but they don't necessarily represent the whole, right? So I'm like, what's the truth? That's what we hear, but what's the truth? And here's what I came across just yesterday, which gives me some hope, and I hope it brings hope to you as well. This comes out of Harvard Business School, adopted in 2009. This is the oath of the MBA program at Harvard. The oath of the MBA program at Harvard, the most prestigious school in the country and perhaps the world. They have adopted this as their oath. As a manager, my purpose, back to purpose, my purpose is to serve the greater good by bringing people and resources together to create value that no single individual can build alone. Therefore, I will seek a course that enhances the value of my enterprise, can create for society over the long term. I recognize that my decisions have far-reaching consequences that affect the well-being of individuals inside and outside my enterprise, today and in the future. As I reconcile the interests of different constituencies, I will face difficult choices. MBA students at Harvard take this oath. Well, there's some hope, right? Not necessarily believers, but based on principles where people are first, right? So I go back to the question, why are you here? Not here, but why did God put you on this planet at this time in your sphere of influence? It could be your family, your organization, the community that you're involved with, your church. Why are you here? I can't answer that question for you. Only you can. But there is an answer. It's not a non-answerable question. The answers, though, come when you're quiet, when you're still. The Bible's pretty clear that God speaks to us in a still, small voice. He's not going to compete with all the distractions and the noise, which is around us 24/7. I've got two teenagers, ages 16 and 14. I adopted them both, and as I told you before, I found out about the first one 5 days before she was born, right? Which is a whole nother miraculous story that I'm grateful for. But they are on their devices when they're awake, and they're laying on their devices when they're asleep, and they're being influenced. And I'm a conscious parent doing my best to mitigate that and to monitor it and to protect them and all that kind of stuff. That's the world that they live in now. They are connected electronically. So, a little side story. I had to get through to my daughter about a very important matter, and when I tried to initiate the conversation with her face to face, she would turn me off. She would squirm. She would get distracted. She'd pick up her phone, and it would just head towards a fight. And I knew that fighting and arguing about it wasn't going to help anybody. So I go back to the kitchen. She's in her room, and I am frustrated. I'm like, God, how? This is important. I'm her dad. How do I get through? And God says, what's her language of choice? Is it texting? Texting. And I pick up my phone and I start asking very simple questions of my daughter without being accusatory, without telling what she should do, just asking, what do you think about this? Why are you doing this? What does this mean to you? And it opened up a conversation that I've never had with my daughter for the next hour and a half. Pages of dialogue on my phone. And she's 20 feet away in her bedroom. And I'm like, no, this isn't the way it's supposed to be. And God says, well, what's your alternative? You want to go in and fight with her and then there's no progress? Or do you want to speak her language? Right? And that's why I love that Mark says, who should you share Jesus with? Who do you want to share Jesus with? Who's on the top of that list? And around the table, we're like, yeah, but it's this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, it's my niece, and she doesn't want to hear from her uncle, and on and on and on. And we have all these excuses and reasons like, no. But I think what I learned from my conversation, my text conversation with my daughter was, what's their language? Right? That's what Jesus came to the earth for, so that he wasn't speaking God language. And we're like, whoa, I don't know what that is. It's so loud. Came down and spoke our language and our parables so that we can understand and see the magnificent, transcendent God in a very simple and intimate way. Goes back to contributions and connections, right? You want to share Jesus with somebody? You don't start with the message, here's what I believe and you should too, or you're going to hell. That's not really the best way to say it, right? That's what the frogs say, by the way. Feed them my frogs. And they run away. So you approach somebody not with answers, but with questions. And this is true of all good leadership. Questions are the answers, people. Questions are the answers because they're a request, and you're inviting somebody to share their heart, their ideas, their feelings, and they don't care about what you know until they know that you care. In closing, I just wanted to share that I just completed the first draft, the manuscript of my first book called More Funner Than Fiction. And all the bullet points that I shared about things in my life that you guys are like, that can't be true, except for me, right? And my friend back there. All those stories are in there at length. It's basically stories from my childhood, growing up in Montana, the adventures I was on, plus my global travels, meeting Mother Teresa, the Pope, and other wonderful stories. Should be out in the next few months, God willing. So feel free to look that up, and I'll share that with Mark when it is out. And finally, if you want to connect with me outside of this, there's 2 QR codes you can scan with your phone. One goes to my YouTube podcast. It's about 12 to 13-minute episodes. That is the integration of faith with leadership and living. And the other is a link tree that goes to all of my social medias. So you can find me here at mojoe.studio.